The year 2025 was extremely busy, with no less than 8 Marvel projects and 3 Detective Comics universe projects. Above all, some wild new projects are generating a lot of excitement. If you've followed the channel this year, you know it. I've come up with dozens, even hundreds of theories, some correct, some honestly brilliant, let's be honest, and others completely off the mark. And by always saying you're with your favorite theorist, I thought maybe it was time to actually put that to the test. That's why in this special episode, I'm inviting you to look back at all my theory videos from the year 2025 and to submit them to the People's Court, in other words, to you. So I spent more than 3 hours live with a document you'll find in the description, ranking my videos in a tier list going from God mode to total fraud. And if you weren't on the live, you too at home can have fun judging me. We'll see if my little catchphrase really deserves to survive in 2026. Obviously, I made you a condensed summary so you don't miss out on anything at all. Get comfortable. Today I'm defending my title again, and this time you decide. Let's go for a look back at all my theories from the year 2025 in a rewind that's as risky as it is intentional. You're with Kevin Buckart, the YouTuber who thinks he's your favorite theorist. Opening credits. Here we are, friends. After a very busy year in 2025 with lots of news and a 2026 ahead of us that will be even busier, it's time to move on to the judgment, and you are the ones who will judge. In the comments, those of you who are live, but also you on YouTube, you can do it as well. By the way, I'll put my little YouTube link, the link to the tier list in the description. You'll make your own little tier list and leave it for us in the comments. But the goal today is to finalize all the theories made in 2025 by BB. And to see where we were, Theory Masters, where we did pretty well and where we were a huge fraud. And the problem with this year, 2025, is that in the end, we talked a lot about the future, but we had very few elements. In the end, for example, I'll take Spider-Man. It has evolved so much. Marvel totally changed its approach. And today, they don't give as much information to the scoopers anymore, so we end up with information going all over the place and scoopers who got fooled. And so we're supposed to come up with theories afterwards based on those elements. Well, we learned that this year we shouldn't necessarily trust insiders as much and maybe rely a bit more on our instincts. Well, now who knows that? That's not an excuse. We're still going to try to move forward on this and judge the facts. We all remember Secret Wars Part 2. Come on, here we are. I know it's going to be... Also, I've said it plenty of times. How is this video going to go? I made a little document for you with for each quarter because it's important to place them in time. All the videos with all the theories inside. The idea is that we're going to take the time to read the biggest theories I developed in this video. Then we'll go straight to our tier list and decide if in this video I was in God mode, if I was a theory master, if it was pretty well seen but nothing more, if clearly it's shaky, or if I'm an absolute fraud. For that, it's you who will decide. So it's you who will do it. For that, we'll start with the first quarter. Just to give you an idea, there were really a lot of videos this year. The idea is to start directly with the very first one. There were other videos that I won't talk about. For example, Hollywood marks the end of wokeism. We won't discuss that, but we'll focus on those with real theories. All right, let's start with Thor, Hulk, and Black Panther. They're back. What am I talking about here? Quick summary. First theory video of 2020 equals soft reboot. Okay, Thor Valhalla towards Doomsday and World War Hulk finally possible. And my theory, Iron Man equals a variant of Doom. I was already saying it at the beginning of the year. Incredible. I'm surprised. I thought it was later. That means I've been talking about this theory for a year. Okay, well, let's judge a bit together then. The soft reboot after Secret Wars, that's pretty accurate. Doctor Strange bridge between universes. Doctor Strange 3 will be the bridge between the old and the new Marvel Cinematic Universe. Strange is ideal to guide the audience through this multiversal transition. Well, that we don't know. For me, it's still a good theory. Thor 5 connected to Valhalla. Back then we had some information about a Thor 5, so I was saying Thor 5 drops the Thor vs. Hulk storyline under Hercules, to focus directly on Doomsday Secret Wars through a strong connection to Valhalla, the dimensional pocket of the Asgardians' afterlife. Well, we don't have any Thor 5 that have been announced. We know it's still a project. For me, in these things, I remind you that back then we didn't have the same dates at all. We knew that Doomsday was happening in mid 2026, and so we had Secret Wars in mid 2027, and so we had movies in between that were supposed to fit in. Movies that disappeared then, back then we were theorizing about the idea of there being a Thor 5 and so on. Despite everything, I think I'm not too far off. Thor 5 basically will directly connect to Doomsday and Secret Wars, and it will have a connection to Valhalla. Well, for now, we've just seen Thor praying to his father, so why not a Thor and Loki reunion in Valhalla? I'm still a bit lost, but I kept following the theory. George Miller for Thor 5 is still a possibility today. World War Hulk in 2025? Well, again, we were looking at filming information, and we saw that World War Hulk appears in production weekly, with filming scheduled for early 2025. So that's not a theory, it was information that came out, and so I made a theory based on that. Apparently, after that, the problems with Universal were over since we used She-Hulk, Red Hulk, and Captain America, and so on. The leader? Well, we still don't really know what's going on with Universal. As for, in theory, as you know, Hulk technically belongs to Universal, but Marvel can use him in certain projects and partly. Or it's not just a Hulk Maestro movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Marvel could introduce Maestro. So that's something I've been talking about for a long time, and he could become one of the key members of Doom's Dark Avengers. I've had this thing for a year too. Wow, 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 wow. Do you know when Doomsday happens in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? It's usually at the end of 2028 or start of 2029, specifically in 2029. Iron Man was a variant of Doom. Doom would be the original, and Tony Stark the alternate version. This reversal explains why Robert Downey Jr., a quarter of Doom, means Iron Man copied Doom, not the other way around. We don't have confirmation, I get it, but it's still the most cited theory today, and we've only been hearing about it for a short time. Still, so I'm proud of myself for that, and there is evidence every time it's true that
She really is dead. It's likely a variant, and honestly, there's little reason for her to return to the good side. When?
well, anyway, there you go. I'm expanding on the topic. A bit later, did you see how there were cheeks there? A little cheek? Multiversal Dark Avengers Doom formed a team of Dark Avengers from alternate universes, Captain Hydra. Well, that's still a theory that's ongoing. Even though the latest information tells us that we're actually dealing with Dark Avengers on the Secret Wars side, and that it was abandoned on the Doomsday side. Because already back then, basically, when I was talking to you about the third Avengers movie, I was saying it's complicated to fit all those elements into a single film, Doomsday, and so the Dark Avengers were pushed back. T'Challa could return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe either as T'Challa Jr., aged up via a dimensional journey, or as a T'Challa from another universe joining Earth 616. We don't have the answer yet, so we're not going to base anything on that. My theory is still either one or the other. I'm still focused on those two possibilities. T'Challa, king of the city of the dead. This variant would seize Wakanda's throne, sparking internal conflict. Resolution, he becomes the king of the city of the dead. It is indeed January 24th, 2025 that we'll see. But in the idea of a Black Panther 3, which has been announced since then, I can still see that element. Well, it's up to you to tell me, guys. We're still on a solid theory for early 2025. There's a bit of everything. Judging each time will be tough, so we'll judge overall. We've got some heavy hitters. We've got Thor, who will be left to the plot. Is Hulk coming back? All right, yeah, come on, let's do it again real quick.
I'm making it clear, right? Fans have wanted to see this character for years, with everyone theorizing and trying to figure it out. Because after Captain America, Brave New World, What's Up Twitch, I'm making this clear. But before we begin,
there's also this. That's quite a theory, and I didn't see that one coming. I'm not going to lie to you. The physical change wasn't supposed to be this intense. I'll talk to you about that too one day in a video. All right, well, first video. Okay, let's go. We're starting with the Masters. Well, we were already doing pretty well back then, but we're still going to dive into something complicated because the Fantastic Four, the trailer was nothing like what was actually shown, but I still got quite a few things right. Okay, the secret villains of the Fantastic Four. So basically, The context was that we had just released the first trailer for the Fantastic Four, and I was doing an analysis. Trailer analysis, the Four Dreams. Not this universe. Galactus seeks Franklin, and this universe is Doom's origin. Listen, in all this information, I was quite accurate, and those things weren't in the trailer. Sue appears pregnant in the trailer with a small belly in the teaser shot, suggesting she's expecting Franklin's child. All right, we're good now. The four Fs are not from this universe. Yeah, no, we're not good here. We're not good. Earlier, I explained the Fantastic Four didn't originate in that universe, but arrived there. We didn't know where from. You see? The 4F likely caused the space accident that gave them their fake powers while trying to recreate conditions to return to their original universe. Joel Malkovich plays the Red Ghost. That was true, even if it wasn't in the draft, but they removed it, so it's true. Pyrrhus, call the Fire Lord the second hero. I was wrong about that. Basically, it's when we have the Firestorm. I said it was another hero who could be there, so that's wrong. Galactus, look for Franklin Ritter. It's just the 4F. Trapped, they built a life in this universe. Well, yeah, they built a life, that's true, but they weren't trapped. So we stick to the same theory. This retro-futuristic world is Doctor Doom's origin and starting point, played by Robert Deneuve Jr. That we still don't know. Well, theories, we can't take those into account because we don't know right now. The movie suggests he comes from this universe, but my theory is he actually doesn't. Okay, new poll then. I don't see the polls, my dear Neo. For you, what are we in? Come on, the poll is ready on YouTube. Don't hesitate. For me, we're on, there's some good and some not so good. There are views that are good, but they're not the most incredible theories either. Oh, shaky, definitely. Oh yeah, tough. Well, I accept then the poll will have, so you need to know, guys, but I accept, huh? You need to know that doing theory isn't easy because you base yourself on the information you have at that moment. So it's true that judging them a year later, but that's the game. I'm the one who wanted it. It's not especially easy, but hey, you're the ones choosing. Here, Bien Vu is at 37 and Bancal at 3043. Bien Vu. All right then, thank you very much. Thank you, my lords. We'll put it in Bien Vu. Let's continue with Captain America Brave New World, everything you need to know. So here too, there are things, IH. Captain America 4 premiere with a Banner cameo is likely under strict confidentiality. The movie is imitating something major. He hid that it was bad, which is why they didn't show it before. And what about Steve Rogers? Well, here I don't think we're looking at the best. So I said there had to be a cameo from an Avenger. Well, likely anyway. Wong, Carol Danvers, Bruce Banner, or Chunky could make an appearance in the movie. Wrong. Bruce Banner cameo, very likely wrong. So we did get a cameo, but it was Bucky, so that doesn't count. I mentioned the strict confidentiality protocol, but that's because the movie was pretty bad and they didn't want it criticized before it even started. So I analyzed it wrong. The movie's hiding a big secret, right? Steve Rogers' whereabouts in the Marvel Cinematic Universe are still unknown. The funeral in set photos might be his burial. No, but I followed up with the idea that it would more likely be Thaddeus Ross's funeral, since Betty is visible in the set photos at the funeral, which fits with her father's death, and that was the originally planned ending, so they continued a bit on that in the trailer. Basically, Sam manages to defeat Red Hulk. Everyone thinks he's dead, but actually not at all. He wouldn't be dead and he would be free. Steve's Secret Wars return if he's officially dead and buried in the movie. Anyway, we can say it now. It's bad. No, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I admit it. Let's not hide it any longer. We're on a shaky video. Ouch, ouch, ouch. There were other things, you know. I was recapping. Well, there's an overall summary of the saga that America made. But about the theories, the video isn't bad. It's just that when it comes to the theories, we messed up. Okay, let's move on to the analysis of precisely Captain America. How many theories do I have? Just one, and it's not very interesting. Stern says multiverse heroes will defend their worlds as two Earths collide. Direct preparation for the events of Avengers, Doomsday, and Secret Wars. You don't have to be a genius to understand that. So what exactly am I saying? by facing each other.
Stern hints at the end of the multiverse here, but note it's a different ending than Kang's, who spoke of a multiversal war led by thousands of variants. Stern, on the other hand, says that heroes from the multiverse will defend their worlds against each other. He's talking about incursions here.
That's the analysis everyone made. It's more of an analysis than anything else. I said Ross would be kept alive intentionally. I said probably for the Thunderbolts or other future projects, but again, we don't really know. Well, for me, this one doesn't even deserve to be here, honestly. It doesn't even deserve to be here. So we're going to skip it because there's not much to say. Let's see if I was right about Daredevil Born Again. So prediction for Daredevil Born Again. Adaptation of the legacy run with Muse, son and mother who criminalize vigilantes, and possible connection with Spider-Man. All right, basically, let's look at the theories a little bit here. I think I'm pretty good, so adaptation of the Daredevil Legacy series inspired by Charles Soule's run. Matt, now a prosecutor, confronts Muse, a serial killer who makes gruesome art from his victims' bodies. We already knew Muse was involved, so it's not a groundbreaking theory. Fisk becomes a mother and outlaws vigilantism. So that wasn't mentioned in the trailer, but again, it's taken from the comics. In this case, I was right. In the comics, Fisk's role as a mother is directly tied to Spider-Man's storyline. The series might feature a connection with the character. There was one that happened where he actually mentions vigilantes, starting with a man who dresses up as a spider and a demon. The character White Tiger would be introduced in the comics. He is framed and convicted, despite Matt Murdock's defense. So here he manages to get out of it, but he still ends up getting killed. Return of Bullseye's Benjamin Poindexter, also known as Bullseye, comes back after his injury in Season 3, where he underwent an experimental operation on his spine. Well, that wasn't mentioned, I think, in the first teaser, but I still got it right. We're not using God mode. But we're still, if you want God mode. If you want anyway, I was right about everything. Even, honestly, 99%. So what do we put? Theory Master, shaky God mode. Do you see anything shaky in there, you? Okay, maybe there are some haters in the chat. I think we can really keep God mode for. Like Zinzin's prediction. Okay, Theory Master, let's move on with. So this, I'm not really sure how to translate it, but I know that this video was really good. It was basically the video about elite analysis of concept art. I think I made one of the best videos on the subject since I was the one who discovered it. That there was a code in the concept art that allowed them to be linked to the film, that allowed them to be linked to the code. You know, for example, the code for Spider-Man Brand New Day is Blue Aces. And that's why a lot of people thought it was connected to the Spider-Man Blue comic, where there is finally, there you go, and here. I managed to connect all that, and so I was able to do a slightly deeper analysis. I think we're more into analysis than theory. We'll look at this together. All right. God Emperor, Doom ambiance, Game of Thrones, Doom appears as God. Well, it's hard to say. It's just what appeared under Storm and Franklin, Doom's infamy. We'll see. Apple Pie confirms Secret Wars. Like I said, since Apple Pie means apple pie. Young Avengers champions will lead the rebellion. We don't know yet, but I'm almost sure we'll see the champions in Secret Wars, and they'll play an important role. That was already shown to us. The heroes arrive on a sealed raft, similar to the comics. We'll see about that. The new Black Panther and Shanda. So that's been confirmed since it goes along with the next one. Dams and Idris cast as the new Black Panther. That's something. We're almost not talking about a theory anymore. It's pretty much something that's almost certain. A World War Hulk project with Hulkland. So a Battle World territory will be Hulkland. Well, that's something we'll see. It's really taken from concept art, and we know it's hard to get a hold of. Apparently, the actress who plays She-Hulk. So what's true and what's false in this information? I have no idea, but basically we'll see how they adapt it. Red Hulk, Prisoner of Maestro, a character is kept under a waterfall. I got that wrong. It's actually Sentry, and I could have guessed it, but I didn't, so that's wrong. Star-Lord and White Vision, allies in Secret Wars. So that basically, the code was Ape. So it's true that it was a code related to Secret Wars. it might be one of the scenes to watch. I said it's not the Vision series, and we don't have the Vision series yet. The Sue Storm element equals the most powerful character. We had some excerpts from the... By the way, those concept arts weren't used in the movie at all. I said Sue Storm is the most powerful member of the Fantastic Four, which is true. Yeah, and we also had a concept art of Galactus who could arrive on Earth 616. We can't be sure, but it's unlikely to happen. Well, it's an analysis. It's a bit unusual, but did you come up with the master theory? Okay, very well, master theory. For now, it's fine. I'm not much of a fraud yet. We're not so bad now. Let's see. Come on, let's finish this first quarter with the return of the Dark Avengers, which was one of my theories. River of the Year, which I still believe in on my end. But it's more likely to be adapted in Secret Wars than in Doomsday, so here it was the return of the developed Dark Avengers. Chris Evans and Scarlet as evil variants, a psychological confrontation for our heroes, and Doomsday ends with Doom's victory. So we won't have the answers today right now, but you'll be able to judge the theories. Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson may return as evil variants, with rumors also mentioning Robert Downey Jr. This time we don't have answers about the villain side. We know Chris Evans is returning, but not the others. We know he'll return on the hero's side, but there are still many signs he'll show up regardless. Doom assembles his own Illuminati of the Marvel Cinematic Universe heroes' worst versions on the villain's side. A Natasha, leader of the Red Room, a Captain leading Hydra, etc. We still don't know, but there's a good chance it will happen. I found psychological confrontation interesting. I was saying that most of the heroes would end up facing today's heroes and would actually face evil versions of the former Avengers, and that there would be a psychological confrontation. The idea was to respond to what the Russo brothers had said by saying that it would be challenging for both the characters and the audience. We still don't have the answer. Peter Parker confronting Tony Stark. The answer remains unknown. Doom destroys the Fantastic Four's universe. Doom would be responsible for the end of the Fantastic Four's universe. Like Hulk, after Thanos defeated him, he'd reach Earth 616 to warn the Avengers of coming danger. At that time, the Fantastic Four movie hadn't come out yet, so I didn't have Thunderbolt either. By the way, I had already decided that they would arrive on Earth to warn about the danger, so here we're in a bit of God mode. Now, is it him who's going to, thank you, the purple? Is he the one to destroy their universe? We don't know. Doomsday was focused on Doom, which was later confirmed, but it wasn't really the case either. Well, actually, kind of, but basically, yes, it will be focused on Doom. Doomsday ends with Doom's victory. That normally we're good with. And as for adapting Time Runs Out, we don't know yet, but there's a good chance we'll be good with that too. What do we think about it? What do we think? Theory Master, come on, I'll take Theory Master. No, that one was pretty good. So there's still the thing about the Dark Avengers, but there are some very interesting elements in it, especially the idea that the Fantastic Four would arrive on Earth. So we already have confirmation of that, and it's not the Avengers who will go to the Fantastic Four. So Master Theory. All right, first quarter review, we're doing okay overall. Unfortunately, the one about Captain America is shaky, but the movie was reworked so much, so often it was tough. The Fantastic Four trailer analysis was accurate overall, though some things still changed. After the big theories, we're doing well, at Theory Master level. I hope for God mode. Let's start the second quarter. Announcing the Doomsday Diversion cast. To hide the real surprises, the movie is probably leading to Avengers vs. X-Men with a final incursion, not directly to Secret Wars. Oh wow, we're starting the 3 Avengers theory now, oh boy. Alright, Doomsday leads to Avengers vs. X-Men. Despite all these great theories, everything seems to indicate that Doomsday is leading us to an Avengers vs. X-Men, not Secret Wars right away. Well, we're a bit off here because actually the movie will have an Avengers vs. X-Men part. But at the time, I thought there was too much to put in for it to work. As we move forward, we see the Doomsday movie should still hold up. The casting announcement is a diversion to steer discussions away from the real surprises in the movie. The Fantastic Four are behind the X-Men incursion. That we don't know yet, but there's little chance because there will be a final incursion, I think. I don't know between which ones. For me, there are 4 universes that will be connected. There's the one of the Fantastic Four. There's the X-Men 616, and for me, Universe 838. We'll see. We'll see how they do it. But the battle between the X-Men and 616, actually, It won't happen during an incursion, it'll happen somewhere else. And the world of the X-Men will die. It's certain now, but we don't know how. Thunderbolt having street fights like Wakanda in Infinity War. So I don't really think so, because actually back then we thought each team would be together. And we realized that maybe some team members are going to split up, so we'll see. Wakanda and Talokan alliance against the invasion, that's probably true. Loki will likely be the last defense against Doom, and Strange will probably side with Doom. The Hulk is back. Battle Maestro. I had already said back then, when we didn't have any info about Spider-Man, that the real Hulk would come back. So that's still true, even if it's not necessarily against Maestro, because we're still on the Dark Avengers theory. Wanda held by the Time Variance Authority. Now, I don't know if you remember, it was related to a comic that came out where they told us that Wanda was held by the Time Variance Authority. Everyone freaked out because it captured all the Marvel Cinematic Universe elements. We were told it was canon. One of the writers of the comic was the writer of Loki, if I'm not mistaken. And so we were saying, yeah, yes, everything is connected. And so we still don't know where Wanda is. But in any case, they misled us about that. Time Variance Authority special team with Gambit and Sylvie. We don't know if Sylvie will be there, but that too was connected to the Time Variance Authority comic. But yes, we know there will be a Time Variance Authority team, so that's not a problem. Okay, guys, what do we think? God mode. Oh, you guys are good. The first God mode, honestly, I'll take it. Honestly, I'll take it. You have to know, sometimes we're a bit shaky. Here, we're kind of in God mode, I admit, here and here, God mode. Yes, you're making me happy, guys. Make me happy. Okay, let's move on with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's going to start over from scratch. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to start over from scratch, but how and why? So that's the thing. I remember back then I got into an argument. Well, today we're friends, but I got into an argument with a TikToker named Script, and he was saying, this is nonsense. People who expect a reboot or reset are mistaken. And for 2 years, I was saying, like, well, yes, actually, yes, believe me, it's going to lead to a reboot. It's going to allow for a new beginning. So on that point, I was kind of in God mode, but yeah, I talk about that. That was in April. I don't remember if the Russo brothers had talked about it, so I said the Russo brothers, they could remain at the top of Marvel Studios and potentially take over the company. It's possible. I mentioned it earlier. Tony Stark is still considered a Doom variant. He who remains replacing Tony with Doom is still my main theory. I don't know if it's true, but that's what I think. Today, at the end of Doomsday, I'm still focused on the story of the Rafts and the Fantastic Four as the connection. List of characters who survived the reboot. Now that I just find incredible. Star-Lord, Wong, Young Avengers, Shang-Chi, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Sam Wilson, Scarlet Witch, Captain Marvel, and Thunderbolt. No idea who will survive yet, but there you have it. Narration and arc divisions. And that I had already announced back then. It was one of the things I saw coming. Midnight Suns for the Dark Dimension. I had Midnight Nova Annihilus for the Cosmic Dimension, the Mutants and the Avengers at the core. On that, guys, we're onto something. It wasn't announced at the time, and today, everything leads to that. Everything leads to that, I think. Brad Winderbaum talked about it. So there you go. The Avengers are coming back with a recast. This reboot could mark the return of Iron Man with a new actor closer to the comics. There's a very good chance that it will happen, but we still don't have it. We still don't have confirmation of that, but there's a very, very good chance that it will happen. There you go. There you go. So what do you think, guys? God mode again. Oh, we're good. There's a small 5% that's unsure, but listen, haters, we still like you. So is the Marvel Cinematic Universe restarting just for you? We're in God mode. It's true. I accept it. I accept it. This one is tough. Hop. We're going into God mode. Now we might begin a more complex part, right? Spider-Man 4 under it's April. I made 2 videos in a row where we clearly didn't know where we were going because there was so much information. By the way, you can see it in the thumbnail. Spider-Man 4 would set up a more mature, isolated Peter Parker. So, yes. Faced with the shadow of doom, the possible arrival of the symbiote, and new faces like Gwen or Black Cat to start his transformation before Doomsday and Secret Wars. So, today we still don't really know what the movie is about. We don't know, but we have many more clues. So let's see how we can judge a theory that is now, well, 8 months old, 8 months. Okay, so Doom, an inevitable confrontation with Peter. Hard to imagine a Doom with a face. So to put things in context as well, at that time, the movie took place after Doomsday and not before. So that changed absolutely everything. At the time, we also had a script that was totally different to take into account. We later learned that moving it before Doomsday changed everything since it was originally after Doomsday. We had this theory about the fact that it was a multiversal movie. Obviously, it's hard to imagine Doom with Stark's face without a confrontation or even an alliance with Peter. Spider-Man 4 should focus on him, not become diluted like an ensemble movie such as Doomsday. So, as I already said, Peter shouldn't be in Doomsday. Why? Because there was a multiversal movie after Peter's development in Spider-Man 4, not in Doomsday. That's just how it is. Normally, he's not in Doomsday since the movie was before. Sadie Sink, a lasting role. Marvel often turns young talents into long-term Marvel Cinematic Universe stars. This implies Sadie Sink's role would be more significant than just supporting. I was insisting on this back in April. Mary Jane Watson is a logical but awkward choice. Picking her makes sense, but replacing Zendaya's Mary Jane might feel awkward to viewers. References to Spider-Man Blue introduce Gwen Stacy, a key figure from Peter's past, and Spider-Gwen across the multiverse, with the possibility of introducing her through the multiverse as Gwen Stacy. Now, there's very little chance that will actually happen. Obviously, we were working on a different script with Black Cat as the female antagonist. Vulture was suggested as a possible return, but we don't know if that's even feasible. Let's remember that he's in the same prison as Scorpion. We're not going to take Morbius into account, guys, and in that prison, we know that a lot of prisoners are going to escape. So it's possible that the return will happen. The Chameleon, weakened lead. The lead about the Chameleon seems less credible since the critical failure of Kraven the Hunter. By the way, we recently learned that the director of Black Panther originally wanted to include Kraven the Hunter in Black Panther 1, but Sony refused. And that we will never ever forgive you for. I love this character. The black symbiote suit is tied to Secret Wars. In Secret Wars 84, Peter finds the symbiote on Battleworld, linking Brand New Day, Doomsday, and Secret Wars to the black suit's origin. For me, we're still working on it. Peter, free but vulnerable after No Way Home. After No Way Home, Peter has lost everything and is totally free. Doom's arrival and the symbiote could push him toward increasingly dark choices. And I think that even if it's not exactly that, that's exactly what's going to happen in the movie. Back then, I did what I could with the information I had at the time, but we know he's going to be very isolated, that he's going to make some dark choices and so on. This marks a more mature, intense, and human Spider-Man, the true beginning, shaped by May's death and the end of his old life. Listen, we're not bad, you know? I mean, for the first Spider-Man info we had back then, we're not bad, we're not bad. What are you saying? Oh, wow, we're at a top level tie? Theory Master, good catch, 27%. Theory Master, let's stick with Theory Master. Don't hesitate, friends. How many are we? We are 330. Don't hesitate to vote on YouTube. We don't share the votes everywhere to avoid dilution, so be sure to participate there. Okay, Master of Theories, I'll take it. That works for me, because I think there are some really good theories in there. Okay, let's move on with another video, Spider-Man. Now here, I have no idea what I'm talking about in there. Spider-Man 4 would be a narrative reboot, more street level, fully using the Spider-Man universe, introducing Gwen Stacy, Mr. Negative, and new faces, while subtly bridging to Doomsday and Secret Wars. Okay. Well, Marvel could use 100% of the Spider-Man characters, that's true. For now, when you see the villains they're using, you get the feeling they're much freer and they're taking advantage of it. Reportedly, Sony negotiated one final multiversal movie at the time, but that's no longer the case today. Secret Wars will create a new coherent universe after the end of the multiverse, though few will remember. So that's stuff I've already said before, and only some will remember. And I had said that Spider-Man would be the case. Lisa Collins-Zayas could introduce the Morales family. Well, we don't know that at all today. There won't be any Miles Morales. No, that's what Sync said. So that's here to stay. So I'm repeating what I said before. Stan Sync could play Gwen Stacy. So here we're in the wrong Blue Aziz. So I was basing myself on that. Mr. Negative would be the main villain. Obviously, that's what I was basing myself on. Since it was According to Redacted Guy, it wasn't me who said that. It was an insider who talked about it. And so I provided a link. Between Shang-Chi and Daredevil, the movie could be connected to Shang-Chi while also including references to Daredevil Born Again. So that's something I mentioned again recently, and I don't remember at all that I had talked about it in order to lay the groundwork for a new arc, street level, and I find that pretty interesting. We had the idea that there was the shinobi. I had said it would be Reis Yuri Watanabe, whom we saw in the video game. And we recently learned that Spider-Man would ultimately be influenced by elements from the video game. There are many elements, so we still don't know. It's possible. Avengers Doomsday would be in 2 parts. Well, we can say that's a failure then, to tell you the story elsewhere, all that. There was indeed at one point a consideration about the need to split Secret Wars into 2 parts. That was my theory last year, I was saying. Phase 7 will be about Secret Wars, meaning we would have Secret Wars Part 1. The entire Phase 7 would occur in Battle World, followed by Secret Wars Part 2. Well, obviously, that's not what's going to happen. I've come back to it since then, because basically, we know that Marvel wants to get rid of the multiverse as quickly as possible, and so it won't happen. But we also learned that it was originally planned, and basically the poor results of the latest ones. In recent years, especially in 2024 with Deadpool and Wolverine, let's look at the results from 2023 and 2024 with the series. They completely changed their minds and moved away from that when they restructured everything. Well, then it's funny because I didn't remember that at all. I hadn't already told you about this element back in April. So the mysterious woman would be the Spider Queen, the woman in samurai armor seen as the Spider Queen, a character capable of connecting Spider-Man to the multiverse. And basically, that's one of the rumors we heard months later about Chatras. The Spider Queen comes from a collapsing reality. Drawing from yoga and Chinese folklore, the Spider Queen might emerge from a dying reality, explaining her presence in Peter's world and her connection to the end of the multiverse. It's a shame because, well, listen, I'm not, yeah, you think Theory Master, but I'm not a huge fan of this one. I did what I could with what I had. You're kind, but I care more about being well regarded. So if I have to decide, we're not going with the video. Theory of the year, but you're kind. Anyway, master theory for you. We're still very close to well seen, so I'll put it in that category. Okay, let's move on. One of my favorite videos of the year, a video released on April 18th that was a big hit, I think. Captain's time travel at the end of Endgame created paradoxes. He could be a nomad, move between incursions, or even lead secret wars. Let me remind you that at the time we had no information about what Captain was going to be, but for me, it's a theory I've had for a very long time. We were actually talking about it with one of the subscribers in private messages saying that when Captain traveled through time, he couldn't bring back the stones. And so no matter where he ended up, he created a new branch where he was going to live and where he still had the stones. I'll read the theories and you summarize and share your opinion. Captain traveled into the future and got stuck somewhere else. He didn't just travel to the past, but also to the future, maybe even got stuck in another universe. So that was kind of my take at the beginning. You can see it's right at the start of the video, so that was just to grab attention. We're not going to take that into account. The Avengers doomed the 2012 timeline. I still believe Steve never brought the stones back. I still believe it. It's not the grandfather paradox, but the parallel universe one. Steve never returned the stones, so those universes are doomed. Steve got stuck after making branches. I still mostly believe that. Steve kept a low profile like old Loki. Steve would have lived low-key to avoid creating a new branch, just like old Loki. So basically, that means a branch that would have been deleted by the Time Variance Authority. For me, there was a return. In Secret Wars, Marvel never really closed the door on Steve. Tony had a funeral, but Captain got nothing. He became a nomad trapped in another universe, using the stones to travel to dying worlds. That was the somewhat crazy theory I came up with. Captain hides the stones for the future, planning to return them after Thanos is defeated since he fails to bring them back. Well, we can say that a good part of this theory is actually very good. Then there's a wilder part. I said it was nomadic, but it actually wandered through universes. So there's some good and some not so good. There's still some good, but there's also some not so good. Let's not kid ourselves. I had said, well, for me, that's the theory I always have, but I had said that he would become a general. In Secret Wars, he returns in Doomsday with a significant role. He won't be captain, but he'll still be important. Theory Master, okay, yeah, there's some good and some not so good. Here, I went off track, and that can't be God level. On that note, let's go with the Theory Master. Come on, Theory Master. We're not bad. I like this little stack. Come on, the ultimate summary of the Thunderbolts. Let me tell you, I'm getting my little pins because this one is hardcore. Some guys made TikTok videos saying I went too far with this. The Thunderbolts will enter Sentry's mind, battle the Void mentally, and act as the 616 infiltration unit to welcome the Fantastic Four. All that? Before seeing the movie, Valentina bought the Stark Tower. Bam, well, that we more or less knew. Songbird, played by Geraldine Viscianana. That's the case. The trailer is only 40% of the movie. That means we hadn't seen everything that happened after. We didn't see what happened at the end. Morg Taskmaster, at the end of the prologue, fights against the psychological void, diving into Sentry's psyche. The film moves away from the classic Marvel Cinematic Universe themes. This movie could become a gem that stands apart from the classic themes. The team comes out united. They will come out united with a unique philosophy, doing bad to do good. The only team prepared to welcome the Fantastic Four, elite infiltrators of the 616. I took that idea further. Well, I described the movie, so let's say that's it. I don't know what you're gonna say about it. It's probably my best theory of the year because I described the movie from A to Z and the theory. If you feel like it, by the way, if this makes you want to watch other videos, don't hesitate. But this one, though, it was really over the top. Over the top. When I released it, I saw the movie at an early screening and the video at a press screening on Tuesday. And my video was coming out, well, it was coming out that same day. And I felt really bad because I was telling myself, they're not going to believe me, they're not going to believe me. All right, let's put it in God mode. I don't think there's much more to say about that. I described the movie, but I don't have much else. That's it. I had quickly analyzed what was happening at the end of the Thunderbolts. What am I talking about? Oh yes, actually, I do have a couple of things. The Four Fantasies will push back Galactus. The movie takes place over several years with Franklin growing up, and the post-credit scene happens years later. So that was the analysis of the Thunderbolts post-credit scene. The Four Fantasies will repel Galactus, despite many believing he'd destroy the planet. The Four Fantasies movie spans several years. We're good. The post-credit scene will take place years later, and the beginning of Doomsday equals the fall of the Four Fantasies universe. Well, that we don't know yet, maybe, could be possible anyway. The first three, I only have the first three, that's all I have. So listen, we're doing pretty well. We're doing pretty well anyway. Come on, I'll add a God mod too. I'm not waiting for the poll to end, but no. Here, it might be a Theory Master since it's not that hard. But oh yes, still, there are choices to make still. I'm happy because I messed up my analysis. Well, at least my theories about Captain America, because I had too many expectations and basically I was telling myself no. But the movie, it can't be shown in the trailer. It's not possible. They can't just show us the whole movie in the trailer. And in the end, I think that with the Fantastic Four, who are the Thunderbolts, I did very well. So where are we at? Him, we have 3 left in the quarter. 2. The Huge Secret of Phase 6, the Hidden Avengers trilogy. This won't be good or make me happy. 3 Avengers movies in 2 years. Doctor Strange appears between Doctor Doom and Secret Wars, similar to Time Runs Out, and Thor's Hammerfall on Battleworld. Oh wow, I can tell this one's gonna stink. Comic-Con is going to be historic, not at all. It was the worst Comic-Con in years. 3 Avengers movies in 2 years, then 3 Phase 6 dates, and now, per the schedule, 3 could be in November 2026. No, we didn't have the delay yet. Basically, what's happening is that we have the movie in December 2026 and then summer 2027. There's nothing for now. By late 2027, the Time Variance Authority will host the final battle. Yes, the Avengers will still include our heroes, so the theory remains the same. Sam Bucky, yeah. Post-credit scene from the 4th. Years later, we won't judge it again. Reed discovers Iron Man and Captain America. So that was also a bit of a sketchy theory. I was saying that basically in the Fantastic Four, the post-credit scene could show us a Reed who goes through, you know, the technology he created to send Galactus back. I thought it was going to be a multiversal portal, and over there he would see an Iron Man and a Captain from another world, completely out of their depth. It's hard to picture Peter in a soft reboot, then Secret Wars. What am I saying at that moment?
We can't fit it all into one part, not in the strict way currently proposed. We must consider the other movies, especially Spider-Man Brand New Day. I was telling you, we were supposed to have a street level movie, and now a lot of insiders are starting to talk about the multiverse again. Regardless, it's not important since it seems Spider Man won't appear or will barely appear in Avengers Doomsday. And honestly, for me, it's impossible to imagine Peter starting some kind of soft reboot in an intimate story and then going straight into Secret Wars. If Doom has Stark's face, I can't imagine no touching reunion.
Yeah, basically the idea was to say that there had to be a movie between the two, and Spider-Man came after Doomsday. Anyway, just for the look, I'm cheating from my old face. That's Kevin McCartney from another universe. Yeah, it's Burgerland. Catastrophic, no, but I was going through a tough phase. Let's be honest. That's when I was at my fattest, and it's from that moment that I decided to... but I'll admit that's cheating on this one. We might be dealing with a cheat here. Ouch, ouch, ouch. The huge secret of phase 6. It's cheating. Ouch, ouch, ouch. 80% cheating. And there's the hater who kept saying it was cheating from the start, who kept saying it was banking. He did it again. It's cheating. This video is a fraud. We can be wrong sometimes. It was cheating. Marvel cancels everything. The Last Chance, Secret Wars postponed to include Miles, Doctor Strange 3 in between, Wanda at the center of the movie, Scarlet Witch as the main character, possible Avengers trilogy. Okay, we're still talking about the fraud. I think you can turn off God mode. He left God mode on. Spider-Man 4 with the black suit. We could really talk about Peter and put him in the best position for a duo with Doom with the black suit. We'll have to see Doom masked then, knowing that they had postponed. Well, I don't remember they had postponed. No, they put Spider-Man first. Doomsday might show Doom in armor battling the X-Men right from the start, which is very likely. Doctor Strange 3 between Doomsday and Secret Wars. Well, that's something I dream about, but there's little chance. Bringing Miles Morales into Secret Wars, I still believe in that, I still believe in it. Because the deal is that Sony said hands off Miles, at least until the last Spider-Verse movie is released, but it's coming out before Secret Wars, and in the comics, it's in Secret Wars that Miles joins the 616. So why couldn't Strange not be in Doomsday? Possible, still possible, the Void as the place where Battleworld is created, I still believe that. One series isn't enough for the Young Avengers after Bob Iger's announcements. Series shouldn't advance the Marvel Cinematic Universe plot anymore. Okay, Wanda, super important for Secret Wars, that's apparently true. Wanda's arc based on House of M, I liked it. Oh, but guys, F-Road, calm down. See, you haven't even started reading and you're already accusing me of fraud? Unbelievable. We listened to it a bit before, didn't we? Wanda's arc, inspired by House of M, has her turning the world into a mutant one, but she stole everyone's lives. So that's what happens in House of M. I mentioned there was likely a redemption arc in Secret Wars against Dooms. I still believe that, but we can't be certain yet. But on the other hand, there was the idea of having a Scarlet Witch movie, which doesn't seem to be happening, but there's a theory that, well, something was released recently which tells us that rather than a champion series, it would be a series. Or it could be adapted in Secret Wars, but mainly as Children's Crusade. And if there are so many hero children shown to us in the teasers, it's because it would be a Children Crusade, but a bit broader in Secret Wars. So actually, well, we won't see Thor 5 in order to have Hulk Black Panther 3 in 2027. So yes, that's for sure. Here it is. The Barons of Doom will be the Dark Avengers. I've updated my Dark Avengers theory to focus on them, and I truly believe it. The Avengers trilogy would be the perfect solution. I'm not saying it would be there. At that point, I start to feel like it's dead. And so I'm saying that it would be the perfect solution and that there will be a real place for the leader of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So Namor, Black Panther, Reed Richards, the new Captain, new Iron Man in the sequel, and Professor Xavier, I still believe in it. The team's name is Clooney Webber. The fraud doesn't get through. That one, we put it in a good light. That means there's something good. There's always the theory of the three things. I'm not going to hammer it at the end either by saying it would be good, and I put it at the beginning. Yeah, still some intros. It's not completely off, though. We end with the future of Marvel. The Marvel Cinematic Universe will last 100 years. I have no idea what I'm talking about. All original cast members are nearing their end, with new Avengers being recast. Arc structures and natural galactic changes at the street level set the stage for new sagas. Okay, so the entire original cast is in its final hours. That's not entirely true. We don't know yet, but Chris Hemsworth might stay. And I wouldn't rule out the possibility that Chris Evans could stay as well. As for the rest, there's a good chance it'll end, but I have a hard time imagining. Mark Ruffalo has always played Hulk. The Avengers aren't going to disappear. That's something they've established, the Avengers. Well, now there's one, it's out. I think it's the Russo brothers who talk about it, saying that it's still Marvel's best-selling brand, so the Avengers will always be there. I was already talking about it back in June. That's true for multiverse heroes revealed in Secret Wars. A new team with a new Tony Stark, Steve Rogers, Hank Pym. I still believe in that a little. I think they'll be among the variants, but Thor will be replaced by Hercules and the Olympians. No, not at all, not at all. That's completely crazy to me. Hulk returns to Savage mode with a new actor, possibly as an anti-hero. We'll see. That side could introduce new mutant, supernatural, and galactic stories. We've discussed this already. Demons and strange beings might appear, making this new world chaotic. We'll see Ghost Rider introduced in Avengers, so that's very likely. I don't believe Ryan Gosling would play him in the Midnight Suns movie with Blade and Ghost Rider. And the Necronics prevent demons from causing chaos. That's basically confirmed. By the way, before we finish, there's one last thing. It's confirmed, not just a rumor. We have Jordan Peele, you know, the one who makes horror movies that were really hyped at one point, who apparently is being approached by Marvel, or at least that's what Peele's agency says. Well, it's actually Peele's production company that supposedly approached Marvel, and the production company directly shared the news, so it's pretty much official. We're not sure if it'll happen, but that's the situation. We're not sure which movie they'll direct, Blade or Midnight Suns, but either would be interesting. Doctor Strange is going to die in Secret Wars. I'm not so sure after all. Because I had said that since the Strange Academy project was in the works, the idea of calling it Strange Academy would be a tribute to Doctor Strange. Clea may still manage it, and Strange Academy is ongoing. The new Guardians are joining Annihilation, which was announced recently. There's a good chance that the new Guardians of the Galaxy, the ones we saw at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, will be in the Galactic Run. So we're good with Annihilation. Black Panther in the Illuminati of 616, we'll see. That's still my theory. T'Challa and Storm as a couple, we'll see. Yeah, it's not really verifiable yet. He replaced God with fraud. Yeah, listen, listen, I think we're in the well-seen category. Yeah, she doesn't deserve much more, I think. And we don't know much, so we'll put her in well-seen, because I think there is possibly some true information. Nothing is too scandalous, but nothing feels like a major revelation either. Well-seen is good. Let's move on to the third quarter. So third quarter, guys, that takes us from July to September. That was midsummer when Fantastic Four was released. A lot of information came out, especially a lot about Spider-Man. And we also had the release of Superman. Let's review what I said about these movies. Spider and Punisher. So, to sum up, Spider-Man 4 would lay the groundwork for a more mature, isolated Peter Parker who is central in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, with the possible introduction of the symbiote. A gang war inspired by comics, Miles Morales' Shadow, and Hulk's brutal return against Silver Samurai. Oh, wow, wow, wow. So those were the first bits of info where they told us, especially that there were costumes, remember? There was the Pinterest of one of the costume designers that had leaked. And so we had a lot of elements related to feudal Japan. So here we go. We're going to read this before voting. Let me read the items to you. Tom Holland reportedly agreed to 6 appearances. Also, Q3's description seemed too long. 6 appearances. So I had said it was probably Doomsday, Secret Wars, a Spider-Man trilogy, and possibly something else. It was never confirmed. I'm telling you, it's a rumor. Well, it's a report. Peter would have a major role in Doomsday. No, Lisa Colon-Zayas as a mother figure, so in the role. And so I had said it would be Rio Morales, no, the Silver Samurai as Viper in the movie. Not much chance. Let's be honest. It's when we were basically told, no, it's not. It's, well, I don't remember who said it. It's absolutely certain that it's not. What's his name? Martin Lee. I don't remember his name, his villain name. We were sure it wasn't Martin Lee, so I pursued other leads. Brand New Day inspired by Gang Wars. Yes. So that's it. There's a good chance that's the case now. Because you see me, I had said that basically in Devil's Reign, which would be season 3 of Daredevil, we would see the fall of Wilson Fisk, and that as a result, we would have the Gang Wars arc. It'll likely be about a city in chaos. That's probably what will happen. Chang-Chi alongside Banner, a rival gang leader Dizano, could trigger Chang-Chi's intervention, possibly already integrated with the Avengers, with Bruce Banner by his side, strengthening the connection between the street-level plot and the Avengers' stakes. Unlikely, but a nice idea. Martin Lee, connected to Silver Samurai. If we hadn't already been told that Martin Lee wasn't in it, so I was really linking it to Martin Lee. Exactly, Peter bonds with the symbiote, so that we don't know yet, but the symbiote will probably appear in a post-crisis scene or at the very end of the movie. Hulk, contacted by Banner, may return violently to confront the Silver Samurai. A merciless fight would make the movie more brutal and spectacular. Basically, this theory was based on the idea that, in what was planned for Captain America, Brave New World, adamantium was supposed to injure the Hulks. So I was going with the idea that we have Silver Samurai, Japan eventually got adamantium, it was diverted, and that Silver Samurai had a role in that. Well, we're on a... For me, we're between shaky and well done. Some things are interesting, but others are terrible. Let's put it this way. So, for me, the only thing I really got right is Gangwas. Everything else is a mess. You said well done, but I'd call it shaky, just saying. The finisher with the symbiote, that would be crazy. That would be crazy. But apparently what's happening is more like this. So we don't know exactly, but the person behind all this, who could it be, Marat? But since his name is already Tombstone, it would be him who's developing villains with superpowers to cause chaos. And at the end, we have a post-credit scene where Tombstone has the symbiote element. And it would be Gargane, so the Scorpion who benefits from it first, who is basically the most violent Venom in the comics. So it would be interesting, but I'm putting it in the shaky category, my friends, even though you've been very generous. For me, it's shaky. We have Spider-Man videos that are much better, but let's move on to Superman. We don't have a lot of Detective Comics videos in there. In terms of theory, we have 2 on the Q3 because it works a bit less and we don't have an extremely vast universe. The theories often end up going nowhere, but I think this one is good. Superman is the foundation of the new Detective Comics universe. Introduction of a truly interconnected universe, the rise of Lex Luthor, possible appearance of Supergirl, establishment of the Phantom Zone as the narrative pivot, and the revelation of a multiversal threat capable of encompassing all the heroes. So, said like that, it might sound strange, but you'll see that I'm not bad. The Just Things gang is present in several projects, so that's good. There wasn't an official announcement, but I said he'd be in Peacemaker Season 2, and that's true. Supergirl invited someone, surprised. No Superman origin story, we're fine, Metropolis. Unlike Gotham, we saw it was true, because when there's the breach, there's a sign that says Gotham, so we're good. Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor is perfect. That's just my opinion, but we're good. Lex Luthor would have created a clone of Superman. That's it, we're good. The clone couldn't handle the yellow sun, but we never got much explanation for that. For me, it was up there like the Superman and Lois series, where we have Bizarro, who is the opposite of Superman. Well, it's not proven, it's not proven. The sun could overload him or kill him, so no, a clone never seen in broad daylight, that's true, because the only time we see him is in the Rift. The Phantom Zone as a prison. So I took one of the references from the comics saying that the gigantic prison outside of time, filled with thousands of superhuman inmates, refers to the Phantom Zone, a parallel dimension used by Kryptonians as a prison. That's not exactly how it's explained, what the Phantom Zone is. Then I say the Phantom Zone as a dimensional gateway. Beyond just being a prison, the Phantom Zone could serve as a gateway between dimensions and universes. It's not explained that way, but we're still in a pocket dimension. I said the Phantom Zone would be the crossroads, but it's not quite like that. We saw that Peacemaker talks about a crossroads between universes, but she doesn't go through the Phantom Zone, so the idea is interesting, but that's not exactly how it happened, not entirely either. Guessing the multiverse as the big threat, that hasn't been the case so far, even though we see that the multiverse is very important in Peacemaker. Yes, in the end, it could be a major threat, as a breach may serve as a gateway to other worlds. We more or less know that too, since basically the elements of this movie led to Peacemaker Season 2. And so It's the same technology that was used, since we see that Luther's chief engineer ends up helping Rick Flag. It's a universal technology for the multiverse. A threat that goes beyond Superman. This breach could spread all the way to Gotham or even to the rest of the planet. Turning the crisis into a global issue is launching the interconnected era of the fabric, but we're not there yet. So what I said was that the breach would basically lead to monsters being released, and that possibly it would reach Gotham and the other cities, which could create something. So what are you telling us for me? Yeah, master theory. I think we're not bad. We're actually pretty accurate about Superman, but still pretty accurate. We can't guess everything. The guys can't either, but still we're pretty accurate. Besides, I had it not here, but in my analysis. Then, after the movie, I had already said that it would probably be Brainiac to consider, but there you go in the analysis of the movie. I haven't analyzed any Joker either, but I said that basically the arrival of Supergirl would probably lead to Brainiac, and that we would have elements of Brainiac in the Supergirl movie. We'll see how it turns out, but I'd rather add it. Okay, the Fantastic Four, the ultimate guide. So what do we have? We still have several theories. Here it was the same. A guide discussed the Fantastic Four, ending with a theory section. When I mention guides, I like to give a spoiler warning. I might guess the movie. Let's see what I say. Fantastic Four would truly launch the post-multiverse Marvel Cinematic Universe. I still think so. For me, it's the start of Phase 6 and the new universe. Since, as the Russos said, it's not necessarily an end, but Doomsday isn't an end, it's a beginning. For me, this beginning is with the Fantastic Four, as Spider-Man also renews the character. So, unless it's an intentional tribute, Reed Richards as the architect of key concepts, Galactus interpreted as a cosmic force of balance. Frank and Franklin Richards are already central, with the future leading to Doomsday and Secret Wars. Interesting. Let's read through this. The real beginning of the new Marvel Cinematic Universe begins. The Fantastic Four isn't a new movie or the real start of tomorrow's Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's not a soft reboot or perfect entry point. Actually, that's false. In theory, yes, but in reality, it's a movie that's completely isolated. So it's the same. I think it's not something that was defined in the movie today, but will be defined in Doomsday. The Council of Reed hasn't appeared. The Void will become Battleworld. We've already discussed this, so no need to mention it again. He never discussed the incursion concept. I expected the movie to let us talk about it more. The incursion causes the multiverse's end, just like in the comics. I'm referring to the incursion. Reed lost control. The multiversal journey. For now, no. The possible appearance of Valeria either. Galactus linked to the mythology of the Celestials. That's not the case right now. Even if he tells us he comes from the ancient iterations, this is really a Galactus who is actually quite faithful to the comics. A predator of Celestials. So in the end, no. Franklin Richard is central to the plot as he is the main issue. He leaves for space pregnant. I did get that part. And the child could be seen by Galactus as a key element, even as a bargaining chip to spare the Earth. Well, I got that 100% right. That's the heart of the movie's plot. In this case, I first saw a minor role, but now it's central later in the movie. Franklin could remain in the background, but he would also become a key player in upcoming events. Galactus secretly sought a successor to create a new universe, choosing Franklin Richards. That's right, they're making this movie over several years. No tragic ending for Earth AB 128. A world ending at the movie's conclusion seems unlikely, even in an alternate universe, as several clues contradict such a dark ending. So we're good now. A world that survives at least until Doomsday, we're good. Galactus pushed back, not eliminated, we're good. Dennis Thorne convincing with the ball, we're good. And the Fantastic Four seeking help from the Avengers. So, as I said, I was still sticking to my theory. It's not good for me, but we're still at about 70, let's say 60% good. I just analyzed it wrong at first. Since there wasn't basically everything we didn't get right, it's mostly Reed Richards as the master of the multiverse. As for the rest, I actually have the movie, so if we stop at that, well, it's not God either. But with all the Celestials here, I was clearly wrong. Thank you. And from there, Franklin Richards at the center. Yeah, the deal with Galactus, who's looking for someone to replace him. Yeah, a world that survives. Many saw him dead, but Galactus was only pushed back, not destroyed. Honestly, I don't know what you think. I'll accept Master's theory on this one, thanks. I'll make this data set available to you because I think it's very interesting, but I'll give you something to make your own tier maker. I'll share this database with you because I find it interesting. Okay, let's continue with the video where I said it was this duo that was going to destroy the multiverse. I made some videos about Reed Richards, which were cool, but now I forget what I discussed in them. Bread New Day would launch a new era for Peter, while Doomsday Bread would refocus the saga on the Reed Doom duo with a dying multiverse. A fatal incursion linked to the X-Men, the capture of Franklin as a strategic pivot, then Secret Wars. All right, let's read. We're going to read because it's a bit long. So Bread New Day, the beginning of a new era. Yeah, that's right. Peter at university, maybe graduated. I was explaining what happened, but it took too long. I actually had a glitch. I was saying that basically quite a few years have passed, and indeed he'll be at university. New friends reconfigured after the reboot. I found that interesting too. I was saying that Peter was going to meet new friends and that these characters would possibly be reconfigured. After the reboot, he might meet Harry Osborn since the universe will be reset. Well, possibly it won't be the same character anymore since he'll be at Oscorp, etc. Maybe they'll just include Oscorp directly. I'm not sure. Victor Von Doom would have the same origin story as Reed. Ah, they're going back to an origin story very close to the comics. Gargantua is their first enemy. The cartoon's antagonists return to the start of their arc. So logically, Reed and Ben would have attended the same one. At that time, it was only a theory that Victor Von Doom was in Reed's universe and that Reed knew him. And I was saying that because they chose characters, well, actors of the same age, and we still don't actually know where Doom comes from. We still don't know, so I can't judge it. Today, I have another theory. With what we know now, we think Doctor Doom is in our universe, but we'll see. Tony Stark will be an adopted variant of Doom, so we're still on that theory. The genius from the gutters. Tony is dead, Doom survived. You're saying Tony is gone for good and won't return. But his variant survived. So Doom comes back. Okay, Doom comes to seek help from the Fantastic Four. Doom reveals the multiverse is dying, so he'd be the one to disclose it. We still don't know that. Ah, that's a theory I found very interesting. I was saying that basically Doctor Doom needed the Fantastic Four because he wouldn't have succeeded at something, or he needs to manipulate them. And there's one thing nobody mentioned, which is the fact that Galactus left his ship in orbit. Well, yeah, actually, he disappeared, but his ship is still there. And we'll see how it goes. But probably if they left it there, it's not for nothing. And I think that Reed Richards is going to greatly improve his technology thanks to this ship. We already know that. They analyzed what was under their boot in the movie, which helped him understand much more. So for me, it's going to be interesting. And Doomsday focused on a Reed Victor duo. I believe in that a bit less. We'll see. The X-Men incursion could be fatal. Multiverse Doom saw their universe as the next major incursion, possibly the one that destroys the multiverse. Maybe. It would have been caused by a member of the 616 traveling to that universe, and the eternal flow of time must absolutely not disappear. That's it. So that's it. For now, well, Doom is attacking the X-Mansion with Sentinels. We saw in the last X-Men teaser that there are indeed Sentinels that are going to destroy the mansion. So yes, there's a good chance it's Doom. The Dark Avengers could create chaos and cover for Doom. That was one of my theories. But again, we expect it will be removed from Doomsday. But I was saying that basically the Dark Avengers, so Doom's cabal, would be used by Doom to create widespread chaos. In the 616 universe, we'll see Doom capture Franklin and create the strategic dilemma, meaning Doom capturing Franklin. It's still unknown if the strongest X-Men and Avengers could bring them to Loki to steal their power. We'll see, and that would create a dilemma, especially with Strange and Peter. We'll see. I was still on Doctor Strange 3 during time runs. Wait, this one is really long, isn't it? No, but it's too much, man. There's a problem. Ah, yes, there you go. That's already better. Okay. Ah, yes, that's already a better summary. Tack, but wait, that's it. I know, but it's... Whoa, I'm lost here in my notes. Yeah, so basically I was saying, but no, it's not that one. No, it's this one. Then, okay. Uh, so, well, basically, it was really something focused on Doom and Reed. A team stranded with Loki would use that as their lifeboat, the survivors team makeup. I said it was Reed, Thor, Spider-Man, Deadpool's team, and Loki, and possibly key Avengers and X-Men such as Hulk or Cyclops. So there won't be Hulk, there isn't, I don't think, of Spider-Man. I'm pretty sure that's how it'll be, especially for Cyclops. Mission on Battle Wars, Secret Wars, Keeper of Knowledge, Post-Secret Wars, but it's complicated. Annihilus has Fantastic Four 2. Traumatized. So I was saying that basically he was going to survive. Yeah, but there's too much info, too much info. And in the second thing, we would have the Council of Reeds. Well, anyway, complicated. The video is complex and difficult because I discuss the future a lot. You put it in bien vu, we'll keep it in bien vu because it's special. God Mode and Tori. Yeah, that one is really interesting. If you go watch it, honestly, I find it very, very interesting. If you want to watch it again now, it's complex. Doctor Doom and his Dark Avengers army. Well. That's the Back from Vacation video. I remember it used to drive me crazy. And it was based on the fact that there was supposed to be a scene filmed between Loki, Captain America, Steve Rogers, and also Doom with Steve Rogers in their famous house that we saw in the first teaser. So I kind of started from that idea, and there was something about it that really obsessed me at that point. It's the fact that if there are these two scenes that were filmed, it would mean that possibly we're dealing with some kind of mirror scene. That's a theory I really like. A mirror scene between specifically, well, Loki, who recruits Captain, and Doom, who recruits Captain Hydra. I found that interesting. We're in a very theoretical video, so will it prove true? It's going to be hard to categorize, but I'm giving it to you anyway. Peggy and Steve scene shakes everything. Filming a scene in Peggy and Steve Rogers' house directly connected to the last scene of Endgame could mark the return of the real Captain America and shake things up. Avengers. So we realized that was true. I was saying that we would have all the original Avengers. Plus Thanos in this plot. I think we'll see Thanos, whether it's in one movie or another, because we have the actor who plays Thanos, who clearly said, if Joe Russo calls me, I'll come back. And actually, that sentence is pretty funny. Since he doesn't mention the Russo brothers and says, if Joe Russo calls me, it sounds like Joe Russo may have already called. Actually, for him to be that specific, so I think he'll be there. Tony replaced by Doom? The Marvel Cinematic Universe is an artificial universe made by He Who Remains. It's the same theory, but here I focused more on the idea that He Who Remains actually created an alternate universe. That's the theory I'm on now, or still on, and I find it very interesting. We heard about the Kang Dynasty twist. What was that twist? Apparently, that's basically why the theory gained traction, is that He Who Remains deliberately banished everyone who could threaten his supremacy. So the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and so on. This Doom team could be the future Barons. Throughout the year, recurring theories are common. Steve's time travel would have created incursions. Today, we know this may be a main reason for Doom's hatred. Kang's stolen technology. I was saying that Doom probably eliminated Kang off screen and as a result stole his technology. That we might see. Doom drives the variants to despair. I said that, and while it's interesting, it would be too complex for Doomsday. But that he would have gone looking for characters, would have manipulated the destiny of the Avengers to have his own so-called demonic Avengers. And I found that very interesting, having completely broken individuals. The Doom's the basic army, but what about the other Capadras who fell off the train? I was saying we might just be discussing pure theory here. It would be that instead of Bucky being the one who fell off the train in Captain America 1, it would have been Captain who was recovered by Hydra, reconditioned, which would have turned him into Captain Hydra, since Bucky and Steve are not the same characters, and Steve has that real leader quality, so it could have been that. I find that interesting. Same with the idea that Bruce Banner comes from a post-apocalyptic world, etc. Thor won't be on the Dark Avengers team, and I think that'll remain the case. And that I had this whole theory about them invading Earth 616. We're not into that anymore. So there's this thing in that I think it'll be true that Doom will be so manipulative that some characters will cross over themselves. Based on Doom's side and what happened with Strange, the same will likely occur with Strange. Whether it's Clea secretly working for Doom or leading him to Doom, I still believe in that. Then I add elements that are related to Time Runs Out, an idea that created a cult, and that Clea is one of the Black Swans. The mystery movie about Strange and Franklin being a Doom Beatrice is still hard to explain. Sentry is a source of energy. That's the theory I like and mentioned during a live, which many others have since picked up. It's the fact that the wound of Doom, the fact that his face is ravaged would be connected. That's just my own theory. I haven't heard it elsewhere, but it relates to dreamwalking. We know Doom masters magic and could have dreamwalked after learning that. Basically, in the main universe where he was excluded, well, basically he would have changed. He wouldn't be the real Doom, and that would be unbearable for Doom. He would have become someone else, like Tony Stark, and tried dreamwalking to see what was happening in that universe. Well, he ended up right in the middle of the snap. And that's what would have caused the burn, since the powers of the Infinity Stones would have gone through the multiverse through dreamwalking, completely ravaging his body, just like it killed Tony Stark. And that's a theory I like, and that makes sense because people sent me things I can't verify, but I'll show you anyway. Robert Downey Jr. would apparently look like this, and since it isn't far-fetched, it could be AI, like much of what has come out recently. Because we know that, well, they're not going to completely mess up Robert Downey Jr.'s face either. I'd be surprised if you picked that actor to mess up his face. If we consider that element, that's the same injury Tony had during the snap, so I really like that theory. Here you go, let me know your thoughts. Anyway, what do we have? We have God Mode 21%, Theory Master 46, Beyond Vu 25. Well, listen, we're going to go with Theory Master, even though, well, there's nothing official really, it's just that the theory is nice. The theory is nice. Come on, let's end this year with the huge mess brand new day. It's interesting because throughout the year, throughout the video, we've talked about the different developments around Spider-Man. And I think this video was meant to recap everything that had been said since the beginning of the year. And realizing, well, where is it? I realized that, well, Disney was probably lying to the insiders. I found that very interesting and did the recap again to see things more clearly. And I think that's when, in September, even though I had talked about it live, that I was lost. Well, that's when I started to be convinced that it meant something. Sign. That was Jean Grey, even though I talked about it a few months earlier, as we had seen. So the Punisher inspired by the run Welcome Back Frank. So that's true. The Punisher series will be inspired by Welcome Back Frank, which is the story where he fights Mamanucci. That's done. The Scorpion stayed for a while and later became Venom. Way before it was announced there by the insiders. The Punisher would use a War Machine armor instead of a symbiote. So I'm still pretty convinced that he'll use technology rather than the symbiote, even though the symbiote was a theory at first. We'll see, but for now I'm convinced the Punisher would find the armor while dismantling a weapons cache. Well, we'll see about that. It's explained. Basically, when I come up with a theory, I try to explain it. I don't just pull it out of nowhere. The real villain would be Mr. Negative. We still don't know who the real villain is, but, well, there's still something there. We'll see. We'll see. The movie could link Kang and Doctor Doom, Brian Dune, serving as a bridge between Kang's multiversal threat and Doctor Doom's future arrival. His name has come up in weekly productions, which would explain the casting of Terrence William Tillman. Sorry, that's wrong because Terrence Tillman... Anyway, we don't know if there's Kang, but Terrence Tillman will play the boss of the Detective Comics God, so that's not good. I'm still on the theory about Rio and Miles Morales. Well, Rio and Jefferson. The Punisher's mysterious partner would be central, so apparently the mysterious partner would be Sadie Sink. It's more that the Punisher will help Sadie Sink than have her as his partner. The hand may be linked to Hulk's resurrection. Well, first of all, there's the hand. That's something we didn't have at all before. But I had already developed the idea that the hand could be in the movie. People said I was a bit crazy back then, so I'm actually a little proud of that. Sadie Sink could play Mary Jane Mayday or Gwen. But so that's what I had said. The first information about John Gray could be accurate as it dates back a very long time. I was saying it's not really a theory, it's the whole thing. For me, Sadie Sink is the new Jean Grey, who would be Peter's classmate. That appears to be the case in this new timeline shaped by He Who Remains. John could just be a regular classmate of Peter, either unaware of or hiding her powers. As X-Men who have been deprived of the trauma triggers by their mutations, Jean will calm Hulk. These leaks reveal the X-Men's introduction, including Jean from Brand New Day, setting up their transition. On that point, we still are on a really, really good video. We can say it, except for the Morales thing, we're still on a good video. And by the way, my theory about that, I went with Jean because there were frequent leaks and discussions in the spoiler room about her getting arrested by the Department of Damage Control. There was a video, but I'm not sure if it was from that time. No, maybe it wasn't from that time, but a video that actually showed an arrest in Goodbye. So what I said at the time was that the DUDC would be the first anti-mutant entity. That's what seems connected. I was right at the time, and I'm happy about it. He actually came to arrest Sadie Singh because he was searching for all of that. I know from a reliable source about the DUDC will now act as a police force to imprison superhumans, and not always in a very legal way. And so what's quite interesting about that is that today I think a bit differently about Sadie Singh, because apparently her name would be Rachel. And I think that as we've seen in the Los Angeles leaks, I'm really looking forward to seeing the Spider-Man trailer, but well, I already have all the elements from the leaks. We see that she's stopped by the UDC. We hear the voice. If you get in my way, I'll make sure. Peter Parker, I'll make sure it's not just your friends who don't know who Peter Parker is anymore. That basically for me is a turning point. Since it shows us that she has her powers, since she knows who Peter Parker is, and she knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, no one else on the planet knows it. And the threat she tells him is basically, you too will forget that you're Peter Parker. And for me, the idea is if you get in her way, she's going to fight. Thank you, Killian, for saying that she's going to fight the Detective Comics God, because the Detective Comics God is after her, and she will be helped by the Punisher. Peter says, you can't do that, but she warns, if you interfere, things will go badly. I think the Detective Comics God is looking for her because, once again, from a reliable source, the Detective Comics God is investigating. They've investigated all the strange incidents not only now, but over the past 30 or 40 years. And so, to detect anyone who could have become hidden superhumans. And so, we know that Jean Grey's story is that she caused the death of her parents. And at that moment, we have, since it's known that it's a strange event, normally in the X-Men story, Professor Xavier comes to get her and takes her to his school as one of the first students at his school. But here we don't have Professor Xavier and we don't have a school, since for me, my theory of the universe shaped by He Who Remains, which is 100% obvious, means that we don't have Charles Xavier. So we'd have a Jean Grey who caused her parents' death, will be pursued and must handle her powers alone. And who, for me, is on the run, so she changes her name, etc. Essentially, the god D.C will track her down, because I think something is going to happen that somewhere will also, I think, create a major psychological crisis. And so the god D.C will come to stop her. So that's my big theory. No, her name isn't Rachel. I can't recall what name she's using. Anyway, Master Theory is fine with me. That's fine with me. That's fine with me. There you go. Where are we? Are we done? Q3. Oh no, there are still the secrets left, so that's a bit tricky. There are some interesting things, but we're unsure how some will turn out. Thanks. A tightly connected Detective Comics universe led by James Gunn, gradual multiverse reveal via Peacemaker, possible Earth X, Brainiac as a recurring main threat, and a dark final arc that could lead to Blackest Night. In conclusion on the Guns Monsters chapter, we know there aren't many details about the Detective Comics universe. I still wanted to release this video because, first of all, I'm talking about the fact that I called it Earth X, but now we know this leads to salvation. The dimension, oh no, Earth X. I was right. Earth X. It's the Earth of, well, yes, and it's the Earth that Chris visits. I had said that. I had said it just before it was announced. Yeah, that's what I was looking at. So I was right about that. Peacemaker's father is still a scumbag. Well, apparently not. Great. So that I was saying that maybe we would get some references, but no, because there aren't any. Supergirl introduces Brainiac. I really believe that. And I had already said it would be Brainiac before it was introduced. Perfect timing to bring out Brainiac. Atrocitus and the Red Lanterns will be in the Lantern series. And for me, the final arc will be Blackest Night. So we don't have any information about that yet. It's hard to judge. I announced the TRX and more importantly, Brainiac, though I wasn't the only one. That wasn't obvious at the time. So what do you think? Subtitling from here? I know, it's less obvious for me. The thing that makes it a solid theory is that I had mentioned Brignac, not the discovery of the century, but I believed in it and mentioned it in the spoiler room. And what about the TRX? If you ask me, I'm not surprised. It's not some groundbreaking theory, definitely not a master theory. So we quietly finish up the last quarter. A video that really disappointed me because it didn't get many views. I think it really stopped at 72,000 views. I highly recommend watching X-Men vs. Avengers, The Real Threat of Doomsday, since the title can be misleading. I'm not saying there will be an X-Men vs. Avengers movie, but I think I share some interesting points in it. It's been a little while. I don't really remember. When was that? November 1st? November 1st? All right, let's check it out. In Doomsday, Earth-X's X-Men could be the main incursion threat, while Doom uses the Avengers vs. X-Men conflict to distract. To manipulate everyone, get Franklin back, and reach Loki, which seems to be the case right now. Scarlet Witch's probable return with Magneton is becoming possible. We don't know exactly for now. The movie could turn into an epic X-Men vs. Avengers. All these people will probably come together to face the X-Men, so thanks to the post-credit scene of Thunderbolt, the Fantastic Four join the 616 aboard an advanced ship, and this whole group could assemble to face the X-Men from a utopian universe that's different from Deadpool's. I think that Deadpool and the X-Men universe are not the same. That's my take on it. And I think that the way Doom actually, I think that, for example, Doom has a way to travel through time and the multiverse. That seems pretty obvious. Why? He would be in the Fantastic Four's universe and he could attack our universe. Is it the Fantastic Four's universe? In the end, we saw there's a very interesting element that no one pointed out, which is in the Fantastic Four. The way to get rid of Chalabal is to take him near a black hole and into that black hole. Basically, the theory of relativity applies, which is that the heavier the mass, the more time bends. And so, as he says, we've got 2 or 3 months ahead of us, something like that. Chalabal believes she left 5 hours later, but it was actually 3 months later. And so when you think that the Fantastic Four movie takes place in the 60s, it happens in the 60s on their world, but possibly when they leave their world, they'll arrive in our universe. Maybe they'll go through a black hole, causing time to bend. And there you go. For example, I'm telling you this because it interests me. We could be able to travel at the speed of light, see? Traveling at light speed causes distance to shrink. Time on Earth, however, doesn't change. So basically, there's a theory. Some people know more about spatial topics than I do, who claim you can travel at light speed and reach distant places quickly, but you could never return to Earth because you'd arrive 100,000 years later. I think that's basically what will happen. The Fantastic Four will leave their universe through a black hole or similar portal, but they'll realize actually that they'll never be able to go back home. And so it's quite interesting. So because of that, I really think there's going to be the attack. The X-Men thing could be the beginning of the movie. And so basically, possibly, we see the end of the X-Men teaser. Well, basically, it's still war around him, Scott. He unleashes a huge beam, and possibly at that moment, he could be the catalyst for the Phoenix Force. It's been too long since I made a video on these elements. I need to make one on these teasers. He might get the Phoenix Force, as he has it in the Secret Wars comics. We also know that normally Jean Grey or even Storm won't be part of the Avengers or the X-Men team. She might have died sooner so he could be the catalyst, which means it would push back Doctor Doom, who would need to manipulate the Avengers and the Fantastic Four to then go face the X-Men and get what he wants. That's a slight evolution of the original theory. So it's not Deadpool's world, but a utopian mutant universe where they've created a home. Gambit will be a different version than in Deadpool and Wolverine. No doubt, because Gambit, we haven't seen him leave the universe. Well, it's a deleted scene, but possibly he's not with Deadpool. There will be many undisclosed X-Men, we'll see about that. Based on experience, the mutants built Genosha, and Magneto has a royal family, so a utopian place. It's not Genosha, but still, Magneto could be surrounded by Polaris, Quicksilver, Wanda Maximoff. According to the NRPK, the mutant lands called Earth X would be doomed to eliminate countless other worlds. Well, that's interesting. Basically, what I'm going to explain next is a theory that the X-Men's Earth is more advanced and that they've been fighting for the survival of their universe for years. Because basically, there are a lot of incursions. And what I'm explaining in this thing is that Charles Xavier might not necessarily be part of the X-Men anymore, but that he would have his own team on the side. Maybe with Magneto, who's been secretly fighting for a long time, like in Time Runs Out, to eliminate the incursions and save his world. Cyclops would be the leader of the X-Men. And it's not for nothing that Binary would be alongside Charles Xavier and Beast, since Beast is also part of the Illuminati. Together, they would destroy the universes and incursions. And by the way, that's why they would have taken Monica, since it was a new incursion that was opening. And at that moment, they were about to destroy the other Earth, but it was Monica they found. So yeah, I find that pretty interesting. There was also something, a theory that maybe the red flash we see isn't. It's the entity of Scarlet Witch that might have left the body of Wanda from 616, and maybe she ended up in the body of the Wanda from that universe. Alex Perez reported the return of Universe 838, and that Tobey Maguire could also come back. And I thought it would be very, very, very interesting if the movie opened with the destruction of Tobey Maguire's universe. This would let him join the Time Variance Authority team. I believe that'll happen since Tobey Maguire will join Wolverine and Deadpool. And I really believe that something like that is going to happen. And the conclusion of this long theory was to say that for me, Doom will have infiltrated the X-Men universe and that it will probably be through Wanda. So yeah, we're dealing with a really, really, really big theory here. Honestly, I invite you to check it out because it's really cool. There's nothing verifiable for now, but it's pretty cool. We'll see if it fits the master theory category since I find it interesting. I'm putting it in the unjudgeable category. I like it, but honestly, that's where it belongs. We don't have any information yet, though I think it's really cool. Let's finish the last two. All Doom's secrets revealed. Oh, this one's too long again. Okay, Steve Rogers would come back as Nomad with Mjolnir and potentially the Infinity Stones. His post-Endgame choices triggered multiversal consequences there. Okay, the Marvel Cinematic Universe would be, yeah, so there, I feel like that's a good one there. Basically, I'm saying everything we know about the next Doomsday. And it's pretty interesting because we'll see that there are things coming together. When is that from? That's November 14th, so we didn't have a lot of information yet. So Steve, who designed Doom's tragic layout, received this report. What I'm saying is that his choice to go there, that's the beginning. Yeah, he would be responsible for the design of Doom. That's not a theory, that's information. He'd return as Nomad, still before Mjolnir. That's the theory. Right now, Steve still has the stones. We don't know for sure, but that's my theory, according to which Steve Rogers couldn't return the stones. Steve hid the stones in a Time Variance Authority protected timeline. When I say that, I mean he was allowed to live his life. And I don't believe for a second that Steve Rogers is in the 616, chilling, living his life. I could be wrong, but I don't believe it. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is shaped by He Who Remains, according to your theory. Victor took Tony's place. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that's still the theory, that's it. That was interesting. I heard rumors that Doom is from another universe, not the Fantastic Fours, which is pretty interesting. What I'm saying is, according to insiders, he would be from another universe whose family was wiped out. For me, he essentially lives like Reed Richards, so his wife is Sue Storm and his son is Franklin Richards. It's strange, but in terms of variance, that's what's being reported, even if the idea is odd. And so basically, with the end of the multiverse, he would have, so he had Reed's life. That's why it doesn't have it, if you want, which is why I'm saying this. It doesn't make sense to see concept art where you see that next to him there's Sue Storm and Franklin Richards. If this Victor Von Doom doesn't come from the Fantastic Four universe, it would be weird to arrive in a new universe and just say, oh, your wife is hot, your son is cool, I'll take them, even if they aren't connected. Actually, if he's from the Fantastic Four universe, it makes sense. Like out of jealousy, just like in fact, the Secret Wars run, or he's from another universe where he had a nearly identical life. His wife and child disappeared, and basically he arrives in this universe and says, okay, I'll take them back, in quotes, by using his powers. I had also developed the idea that basically he would have done one. He would have been the one then. Sure, his universe would be dying, but he would have been the one to sacrifice his child to absorb their powers and be able to leave the multiverse. We'll see how that turns out, but here we are. We're getting into theories now. Finally, there's a big difference between the theories at the beginning of the year and the theories at the end of the year. Obviously, the theories at the beginning of the year were about something that could be verified, etc. We still don't know what will happen this year, even though it's almost over. According to rumors, we would have multiversal dooms. So that's what I'm telling you. He made the sacrifice. Ultimately, instead of Doombots, we'd have dooms from the whole multiverse, as shown in the Avengers Forever run. I find the idea very interesting that Doom manipulates Franklin by pretending to be the nice uncle, for example, to resurrect Wanda. And that's interesting. There was a theory that there would be a countdown in the movie Doomsday and that this countdown would lead to the final incursion. For me, that countdown, I think that was something that came from me. Oh no, that was an old thing. Yeah, it was an old thing from that busted insider who disappeared. But basically, he would create the world in 7 days. I find the idea very interesting. Doom would create the world in 7 days, like God in Genesis, and on the seventh day he would rest, and so we would see the battle world. What I find interesting about this idea is that, according to rumors, there would be 7 teasers leading us to the trailer during the Super Bowl, 7 teasers each introducing a character. It would be an excellent theory, in my opinion, to have these 7 teasers that more or less represent the 7 days, for example. If you recall, we have the first one. I'm not saying they're connected, but it's the first one. Steve Tranquil. The second one is a kind of preparation for war by Thor. The third one, we see that there was an attack. We'll see how the next teasers go, but possibly it's going to give us a sequence. I would find that very interesting. Doom is after Steve Rogers. Clea is a black swan. I mentioned that, and the movie is a countdown to me. Valeria may already appear in the Fantastic Four's post-credits scene, because the little boy is already quite old. He must be 4 or 5 years old, and his sister Valeria. It's hard to imagine them having a kid during Doomsday or her showing up right after. That would be strange. Or maybe because there are also elements that show us that possibly Valeria is in the concept art for Secret Wars, and we can't imagine that Valeria is Doom's little girl. Okay, because basically, look at what's happening in the concept art. We know that several years will pass in Battleworld before the next part of Secret Wars begins. The difference is that in the post-credits scene, there's a child about 3 to 5 years old, while in Secret Wars, the child is much older. If they don't bring in Valeria, that would mean she's Doom's daughter, and we can't keep a Valeria who's Doom's daughter. So after the reset, Valeria will definitely be there. That's it. So what do you think about this one? I'm telling you, it's getting harder and harder to judge, but we're dealing with a theory master here. I also think it's a really good video, and I highly recommend you go watch it. Okay? Theory master. Okay, let's finish with the very last video, and look who we come across. I have no idea what I'm talking about anymore. The theory that changes everything, okay? Spider-Man 4 would follow Peter Parker's fall and recovery as he deals with Massachusetts Institute of Technology Alchemax, gang wars, New Mutants, and dark manipulation. Phoenix. In a week of trials meant to break him and prepare for Doomsday, this will be tough to judge. Because basically, I was basing myself on something, a leak that wasn't great. And in my opinion, it's not, but we can't be sure, but it's going to be hard to judge. So, season 2 of Daredevil will be in 2027, and so it will normally lead up to it. It will be like Shadowland. And I was saying that it will lead to a Matt who will potentially, finally, in Shadowland, Matt leads the hand to establish absolute justice. And I was saying that basically in season 2, we'll probably have a much darker Matt. Their main goal is to defeat the Kingpin, who will bring back Jessica Jones. And basically, Jessica Jones will be by his side during season 2. But at the end of season 2, basically Matt will completely lose it. And that's when Jessica Jones will reform the Defenders to possibly stop Matt in season 3. I found that very interesting. The book said it was happening at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, but I don't believe that now. I'm telling you, for me, it's going to happen in New York. It won't be at Massachusetts Institute of Technology because Massachusetts Institute of Technology was evil. However, even reputable insiders have only announced that. In fact, since this video, we know that the insiders were frequently lied to in the movie. That's why Chatra went all out, and apparently Chatra really pushed the limits, almost like a joke from Sony's production team to really mislead the insiders. Many of those elements aren't true today, and we should consider that. So Peter infiltrated at Massachusetts Institute of Technology under a false identity. I don't believe it. The Desano and Mr. Negative, we'll have to see, but we're moving away from that. The casting of Sadie Singh. I was always under the impression that it's good, but we're still working on some things, but Jean Grey. But I was going off on a Dark Phoenix tangent, so today, I really think it's Jean Grey Coleman Domingo, connected to Kang through a flashback. So I was wrong, it wasn't Coleman Domingo, of course, but it was someone else. Sadie Singh is making Peter's week terrible. I don't believe in the mutant mental shock at Massachusetts Institute of Technology anymore, just in general. The Department of Damage Control. That's where I form my theory about how segregation begins, which is quite interesting. Introduction of mutants before Secret Wars, Doom, and his female emissaries. Hard to say now. A structured movie, like a series of trials. I gave the example of the labors of Hercules, which I still strongly believe in. That means, basically, we're really going to see a Peter who is going to have a tough time for a week. And a lot of things are going to happen in his life. He's going to evolve a lot, and Sony is insisting on several villains. So that's where we are. I think we're looking at something that's well done. There's some good, there's some not so good, actually. There's some really good and some that's not. Not true at all. So for me, we're somewhere between shaky and well done. You see, that's where we are. We have to be realistic. What do you say, Zero? Shaky? Oh yeah, let's stick with well done. Then we'll stick with well done. All right, so we've reached the end of this video and I'm actually pretty reassured. I'm not going to lie to you because even though I gathered all the data, we still had to analyze it together. And honestly, we're not doing too bad. Let's be honest, we have a video that's a major fraud. We have two shaky videos, one on Captain America Brave New World and another on the first info about Spidey and Punisher. It's clearly shaky. We got some things right, which makes sense since theorizing lacks complete information. And sometimes we look for things, but we're still doing a great job. Honestly, I really didn't expect that at all. I'm telling you clearly, I didn't expect to have so many master theories. I didn't expect to have so much God mode. For me, if I had a God mode, it was cool, but it's true that I had completely forgotten that I had gotten it. The Thunderbolts, for example. So maybe we're actually a pretty good theorist after all. Well, guys, I hope you really enjoyed this video. It was a chance to go over all the videos that came out in 2025. I think it's worth it if you missed a few to go back and watch them. There are theory videos. Maybe you saw the one in God mode. It's interesting. There are also several videos like the Marvel Marathon Guide for a full marathon and the Marvel Timeline Explained to watch. Feel free to check out this year's videos. There are some great ones, not just about current events like today. The idea today was really to look at them based on when they were released, so according to the quarter. How did I analyze things and did I guess anything? We have a pretty cool result. I'll let you check out the rest. It was a pleasure, my friends. We'll see each other again very soon for an analysis of the Doomsday teasers and maybe I hope, an analysis of the Spider-Man trailer. Whatever happens, a lot is going on at the same time, so we can meet live during the spoiler room or in a video. See you very soon. Above all, don't forget to be curious. That's the secret to being happy. Bye.